And I've actually known your products for a long time. I've purchased them long before I knew of you. He's currently, has really developed a very successful and productive organic farm in the region. And is also a member of the National Organic Services Board, with definitely something that I can appreciate. Having just finished a 5-year term on the National Organic, I'm not sure if it's standard for it. The NOSB is kind of I kind of think of it as the Supreme Court of organic, which is the kind of advisory group to USDA that helps determine what is allowed or not allowed in organic. So it's a really important and influential board on the whole organic industry and really across agriculture in the United States. And Javier has really done some innovative work in marketing in the area. And so I'm really looking forward to having a conversation today about that.
Very well. Thank you for inviting me. And it's truly a pleasure for me to be here and share some of my daily routine, especially with someone like you that has such a great impact with our community and our kids. I wish I had like 10 hours and go all over my life and what it's been, but I can tell you that I am one of the the blessed individuals in the area to have a certified organic farm that is independently owned and not really belong to one of the big conglomerates, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with them because we need a lot of food and we need conventionally grown food as well, because there's just a lot of us in this life and in neighborhoods and cities. However, I feel like there's a big need for independently owned farms near our cities where food should be eaten in a more natural way. And organic for me has been the answer. And to me, being a Mexicano, a Latino, I'm truly blessed to have a farm that can offer good products that are grown organically. And yes, I could have answered some of those questions that you guys had, and how big of impact the use of pesticides, organic pesticides, do have in our food that we eat. But I, often say that organic pesticides don't kill you. They might give you a little bit of diarrhea, but they're definitely better than what that conventional is. So anyway, it's to make things a lot easier and see what, there was a question there he has a bunch of questions for me, but one of them was, why organic? Why organic is, I got some strawberries there and some blackberries that Fabio will pass them around so people can, Fabio is a friend of mine from the LA area, because I kind of grew up in the LA area after, when I was 20 years old, I came from Mexico, and he's been part of my life, and he came to visit me with his family yesterday, and we haven't really slept much. That's why I look like raccoon. But Fabio, just go ahead and pásalas a todos para que coman table by table. So anyway, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. So some of the questions we had include kind of a description of kind of your story and how you arrived, became a farmer, and how you got started, and maybe what are some of the challenges and that you had to overcome, and also perhaps what things may have helped you get where you are.
I think the challenges that I had to overcome, I think it's work in process, because there's just so many challenges as an organic grower and as an independently owned family farm. In this country, you are blessed that you can go as far as you want, but there's lots of obstacles and things that new regulations and different things that keep just choking us to disappear. So unfortunately, smaller farms keep facing a lot of issues, whether it's regulations or financially or access to land, and we can go on and on and on and on. I am blessed because I was 20 years old when I came to the LA area from Mexico. I come from a farming family, My father and mother did not own any land in Michoacan, Mexico, but they were farm workers. We did have a little bit of a piece of land for us to grow some more food. I landed in kind of Wilmington, California, where I had some siblings, and all I did was just work in the restaurant industry for 22 years. I climbed the ladder, went from doing in the dishwasher to being a food and beverage director, and ended up working for a golf management company that owned hundreds of golf courses in America and throughout the world, actually. And I did well. I actually had what it's called the American dream on it, but it wasn't until 2005 and 6 that I was part of those people losing their homes and everything that they had. So instead of killing myself and staying depressed, I went back to what I came from, and that was started farming again. So my wife had a sibling in the valley, in Tracy, and he said, well, why don't you guys come up here? And we did, and I got my GED, and then I went to Delta College in Stockton. And that's when as soon as I went back to touching soil and, different nutrients and seeing how things grew, I just wanted to go back and become a farmer again, what it was. But in the valley, it wasn't much of a food production. It was just orchards and stuff. But so I looked for a place in Watsonville, and I started working for a fresh cut flower grower. I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get to work at 5:30, and I would go back again. But at the same time, I learned about Cabrillo College, and I started going through the program there. And all it was organic. And I felt at home. The rest is kind of history we don't have all day, but I started with 1.5 acres. I learned about Alba, the nonprofit in Salinas. They also gave me an excellent opportunity to start learning on how to farm organically and how to figure out where the resources were. The resources for someone that wants to start an organic farm. And we'll get to those questions, but in a nutshell, I mean, you guys can Google me, and Google keeps sending me emails that they want me to pay because there's like 3 pages of my name and JSM that it appears right away. But it's just because after 4 years of farming, I realized that I needed to give back to the community and get other farmers access to some of the resources that I struggle to go and get myself. And so there I do a lot of things. Sorry.
No, that's great. I'm curious actually to hear more about Alba, because we've done some work with them and interacted with them. It sounds like that was an important.
Alba is so it's a nonprofit, that teaches you mostly farm workers, but if you have a PhD and you want to get to do the program, which is like about 10 months, and learn how to farm organically, they would allow you to do it. You might have to pay a little money, but if you're a farm worker and your goal is to learn how to farm organically and develop a business, they take you as a student. Once you graduate, if you were good, you can actually become part of the incubating process, which is like about 4 or 5 years, and they allow you to grow your business. And so the beautiful thing about Alba is that people from universities, people from the extension, people from the USDA, the FSA, financial institutions that are nonprofits that can lend you money to begin your business, go there on a regular basis. So anyone that goes through the program gets in contact with these people that is the resources for them to continue as a farm business owner.
Okay. And we're talking about organic. I'm not sure everyone here really knows exactly what organic means. So
it's like one of those things. If I ask you what's sustainability and what's sustainable for you, and we all have a different version. Organic, I think if you don't mind, if you want to keep the slideshow going, I'm not a scientist. I don't have the degrees that you guys have, but all I have is pictures, and pictures can give you a whole idea of what I do. So you will see that. Organic is definitely not what, Amigo Bob and Christine and Dale Koch and maybe, some of those people that began the organic movement in the University of Santa Cruz is. It has gone to a level that has gotten a lot of big players involved because there is a lot of demand and there's a lot of money to be made. Having said that, I am one of those guys that would like to keep it as close as it was when it started 45 years ago, right? These days, there's like anything else, there's a lot of lobbyists, there's these national standard organic boards that supposed to create and advise the NOP to create new regulations on what's to be used and what's not to be used in organic. So I think my personal opinion is that I think depending on who's the board and how the board is made, tends to sway to favor some different players. That's just my personal opinion. And some people think that, oh, Javier is saying that he's on the board and he's saying he's against this. I'm not. I'm just telling you the way it is. So, so sometimes the way things go in the organic production tend to water down some of the organic food that we grow. But not me. I do use a little bit of pesticides when I have to, when I cannot mechanically or when the balance of insects or pests around my farm, it gets really difficult. And then so I have to go into my toolbox, which is, what the NOSB or the National Organic would allow you to use to a certain level. So I try not to use that. I'll give you an idea. Strawberries, which is probably one of my main crops that I grow, do require, you guys know, and I apologize for this, I shed a lot of pesticides. I mean, you see in Pajaro, you see, people stop harvesting at 3 p.m. By 4:30, you'll see, some guy in a fancy tractor or, very well enclosed clothing and spraying, just you name it. I mean, more than me, finding some different pesticides. And so in the organic production, we do get to use some of them, but at a lower rate and just as minimal as I can. I can tell you the last year or this year, that it's ending the season, I only applied and had to spray one single time. And that's because I just couldn't handle the little mosquitoes and flies, and my customers were complaining that your strawberries, after 2 days, they're exploding. It's because there's a little bit of an insect that will, come out of it when it gets warm.
And what motivated you personally to go into organic?
Several things, very personal things. One of my daughters, she loved strawberries. And she ate a lot of them conventionally. And I think she might have been facing some health challenges when she was little because of that. And then the other thing is that when I came to this area and I was working for the fresh cut flower grower, it was all conventional. Because people don't want, there's sunflowers with cucumber beetle bites and they're dahlias, they want them to look beautiful, so they spray a lot of chemicals. Sometimes when I would get home, I'm now have to like undress myself to say hello to my wife and kids. And that's just bored. It's just not acceptable. That is not.
You're saying that you felt like you were bringing chemicals home on your
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
We've actually done some studies on that. You see chemicals from the field on people's hands.
Hands, your shoes, your clothing, your hair.
Yep.
Right? I mean, and whatever you inhale when you're, around it. So I think those are the most, that's my daughter, and that's my daughter is picking up heirloom tomatoes.
Okay. You know, we're working with a lot of teachers here, with kids who are in middle school and high school. And of course, the older kids are perhaps thinking about jobs and, you know, maybe more schooling afterwards. You know, what kind of, you know, careers do you see in agriculture and organic agriculture? And, you know, what advice would you give to a high school senior who's going to graduate this year, who's interested in farming? And what opportunities do you feel are out there for them?
Well, lots of questions in one. I think the ultimate goal for somebody that wants to have a business or farm organically is to own a farm. It is really difficult because of land is very expensive, because financially it might take you a long time. It's just very expensive. I can tell them or tell you that if you have the discipline, and if you want to put the sweat and tears and get up early in the morning, you will succeed because there's resources available for them to do it. And I actually feel so happy that I created, I have some other farmers that are kind of like my kids, and they're just, some of them are just doing incredibly good. And one of my goals is to not farm myself, but I'd actually advise them or have them use the land that I've been able to, or I'm still paying for, and will pay for another 25 years, but to use it in a way that they can have a business for them, feeding that community and doing something really good for themselves and their families. So, but if that's kind of like the ultimate goal. But there's other things to do. There's, you know, you can get into advising what to use in organic, like not really, I don't really like those pesticide applicators, but there's just so many. You can go into soil science, advising the farmers, you know, how to improve your soil matter, organic matter, how to eliminate soil-borne diseases. You can, I mean, I have kids that only like to go and sell at a farmer's market. I have kids that have actually started their farms, or they started doing farmers markets with me, and they were in the university, and when they were finished, they started their own farms. There's because food will be needed regardless of how old you are, and, you know, from 100 years from now. When it comes to food, there's always an opportunity to sell it. And if you can grow it, you're going to be doing really, really well. And in this case, organic food, I remember when I graduated from Cabrillo College in 2013, and actually when I got to Cabrillo in 2011, people used to say, if you're going to start an organic farm, it's too late. There's too many farms. What a stupid mistake what a stupid mentality, I'm sorry, they had. I can tell you now that, you know, 12, 13 years later, even if we have the large conglomerates and big companies being part of the organic food growing, it's still an excellent opportunity to begin farming organically and starting a farm on your own, because there's just big demand. In my case, I can't really quite, I shouldn't say compete with the big boys, because they grow things in a massive way. You know, they have a lot of acreage, but I can find my little niche market, whether I grow, you know, different varieties of strawberries and tell you what it is and how I grow them, and that taste is definitely better. Or, you know, creating and implementing things like, you know, no plastic and all these other things. But I think the biggest thing for me has been actually allowing my customers to come in and see what I do. So my company has grown so much because of that, because there's a lot of transparency. And that is something that unfortunately some of the big companies are not able to do because of legalities, because whatever, you name it.
Is that because of food safety concerns?
Yeah, that's not food safety concerns. And of course, we're not going to allow you to bring your dog and your cat and let them, you know, poop on my strawberries or something like that. But I mean, you can tell people and give instructions on what to do and what not to do, right? Food safety is not really a problem. I think it's just not letting you know exactly what's going on behind the fence.
Right, right. What about plastic? We've actually talked a lot about plastic, with this group. And, in terms of agriculture and also, microplastics, I'm curious, I know you grow berries and there's a lot of use of plastic films. And I'm curious about what happens to the plastic and are there, I know on the board, we've talked about alternatives to polyethylene film, but I've wondered how that's gone and where you might see there's some opportunities.
I think that plastic is, I wish I didn't have to use it because you're right. Every time we bed up we shape beds and make this beautiful kind of butter stick of soil. So you wrap everything around, and then when you come in after, 9 months or 10 months of being in the soil, you cut it and you pull it. Of course, there's pieces, chunks of different sizes, and the microbes that we don't see that, end up in the waterways and the ocean later. It's a big problem. I think there's a lot of things that you guys, or sometimes we don't pay attention to, especially in our area. There's, some of the big strawberry growers, alternate and switch with veggie growers. And the veggie growers, even if they're organic, they normally, when things are germinating, they come in and they use the pyro, all this fire to get rid of the weeds, and those plastics pieces get burned. In my case, I pull it, I take it to the recycling place, to the dump, whether they recycle or not. I mean, that's the best I can do. I always separate that. When it comes to the packaging, I give my customers the option of having the ready cycle, the paper. It's a little more expensive, but my customers, they share the cost because it's a beautiful thing that we're doing. I mean, you can throw that in your compost pile and it's no big deal. At a higher level, I know the NOSB, it's been fighting and arguing about, whether there should be a mulch, a plastic mulch that could be biodegradable, and they haven't really found it because of the GMO thing. But the more I think about it, I think there should be some rules on what to do with it. Like, okay, if I'm gonna buy 100 rolls of plastic for this season, I should be able to quantify some of it at the end and kind of have a balance of whether I'm picking it all up. Just some accountability.
Yeah, I when I was on the board, I worked a lot on the biodegradable mulch, and I know they're trying to send it back to the board, and it's going to go on forever that time until there's a different technology.
Why is that, Ethan?
Well, right now,
Because Jasmine presented about that.
biodegradable mulch. Well, right now, the standard for organic is you can use a biodegradable mulch if it's 100% bio-based. So the material originated from a biological source, like potato starch or something like that. And there are no products that are 100% bio-based. If you get a biodegradable mulch, right now they're 60 to 80% petroleum based. And, we proposed the idea that maybe you can allow a mulch that was 80% bio-based and 20% petroleum based.
But if the plastic is 100% petroleum based, the regular plastic is 100% petroleum based, isn't the mulch
Well,
that is 80% or 60% better than the 100%?
well, that's my point, except that theoretically, you don't mulch the polyethylene petroleum film into the soil.
I see.
So,
Oh.
yeah,
They mulch it back into the soil.
yeah.
I think the fear is that if they authorize it, people are just gonna go, screw it, let me just disc my soil again and make it disappear. I think it's a big problem. So this is kind of like mixed emotions. I can tell you, in my case, I've done trials with cardboard. For tomatoes, works good. For strawberries, not so good at all. It dissolves with water. I've used burlap, and I've used strawberries. You use put the straw, but then you have lots of slugs, snails, and that kind of. And the biggest issue here is that, unfortunately, our consumers they freak out when they see a strawberry that has a little bit of dirt or something like that. Oh, it's I don't want dirt on my strawberry and that kind of shit. So sorry. So I think that there's a lot of education that we need to do in order if we want to kind of stay away from some of those plastics and mulches.
So the only reason why you don't want dirt on strawberries is because people don't want the dirt on the strawberries? Not
Yeah, they
because
don't. They don't know. They sit dirt in my clamshell. They like, and I won't sell it. And it'll be just credit for me. And I can't really afford that.
So I'm gonna open it up for questions. I see lots of hands up.
Okay, first of all, go Seahawks. I
Cabrillo.
started TPD and started with Cabrillo.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's such a beautiful place. I actually, they're coming out next Friday to the farm. They come out,
Oh, that was
The
my
ag-
question.
yeah, the art group, or anybody, but mostly the kids that are going through the horticulture program come out twice a year to my farm. And that, to me, that's an honor. Because they can see the whole enchilada and we can talk about just about everything.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, you said something about organics. So I also then went to UCSC and I know the agroecology program and the farm up there. Are you saying that that's where organic?
That's kind of the whole movement started, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, see, I didn't even hear that at the time I was there, so that's fascinating. And then my third little question was, like I teach AP environmental science, can I arrange a field trip?
Absolutely. Yeah, music to my ears.
Me too.
Well, yeah. Actually, before we came, I sell my stuff not only to buy ride markets and the fancy stores, Rainbow in the city, and a little bit of the New Leaf community markets, but I also make my food available to Escuela Popular in San Jose and the Lukis in Redwood City, where there's a lot of Hispanic community. One of the first farmers markets that I started going to was in Oakland at the Fruitvale Park Station. So, and we still do that on Sundays and Thursdays. So to me, I want to make sure that my food is accessible and affordable to people. Before I came, Fabio goes, "Who are those people?" And there were people from the family with 2 vans that came to my farm today because they wanted to pick some peppers and tomatoes and a little bit of strawberries. I didn't charge them. To me, that's beautiful. That's a lot more satisfying than driving a freaking Tesla. I'll tell you that. That's the way I feel. Sorry, if you drive a Tesla, I don't know. I can borrow it from my quinceañeros.
you have a question?
So, big question, the organic movement started because a few people wanted to grow organic, but it didn't really take off until the public demanded it and made it economically feasible for farmers to farm that way. What do you see in the future that would be a similar thing to happen to reduce the amount of pesticides? So in other words, to get people to accept bugs in their fruit or to accept dirt in their strawberries. What do you think we could do to kind of help push that along?
Educating yourself is the biggest tool that any human can have. And really, there's other things that make humanity, more understanding and getting along, communicating ourselves, understanding each other by language and whatever. But I think educating people, it's something that a lot of us are afraid of, especially when the companies are benefiting economically from what they're selling. I mentioned earlier, the big companies, they don't want to tell you exactly whether it's a Chandler variety, Albion, Monterey, or Mar du Bois, because if you like those strawberries, you're gonna demand that variety. And they cannot do that because varieties behave differently. They need different, you need to attend to them differently, feed them differently, plant them differently. So that means their season that starts April 1st in our area and ends September 30th will not be always the same because you're educating yourself, and you'll demand that. And the end consumer is the one that dictates how we do things and how business develops and whatever their money goes into. So for me, I think it's education.
There was a question back here, I think.
Doctor,
I wonder if you can just comment a little bit. It occurs to me this organic movement is so closely tied to the existence of farmers market, and how you look at that, and just is it something that's spreading, is it something that's promoted more just to get more exposure to small farms, because they're not going to get in the same way in places like that.
when you begin a farm, the natural way to start and selling the crops that you grow is if you don't have like a little farm stand, people can come to you. Farmers market, it's the answer. However, farmers markets, because there's so many of them, many of the farms that are selling might not necessarily be selling what they grow. So this is, I mean, I cannot really point fingers at anybody, but you guys are super smart. You cannot have a farm with the same looking like table every single week. You need hundreds of acres, and you need to have someone 10 times more crazy than Javier Zamora that can grow things constantly to keep up with making the table look similar to what you're used to. So there's a lots of, buying and trading from farms that might not necessarily be, sometimes they're not even organic, they're selling as organic, which is a big issue. My farm, the only probably the biggest thing that we do as far as social media is Instagram. So you will see always every single day something that we're doing with JSM Organics. You can follow us. That's my pitch. And so you will see what my crew is doing and what we're doing, what we're planting, what we're harvesting, and that sort of thing. And so very few farms actually do that. And I can almost count the farms around that would allow you to, if you said, oh, can I bring my students? Can I come and see you? I would say yes. There's always, oh, I'm not there, blah, 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 and that sort of thing. So, but going back to your question, when you have a farm, if you want to grow it, you must adhere to the rules and regulations, meaning you must be certified organic, you must have a food safety third-party audit, you must have your liability insurance, and all sorts of things. Now it's like you have to adhere to the water board and all this kind of shit that it's impossible for a small farm. So in my case, because I went through the ALBA program and because I saw that the only way for me to sell my things would be to actually go to the grocery store and sell them. How I wanted to sell my things to anybody that the big boys were selling their things to. And so that even when I was going through the ALBA program, I created my own label and I got my little barcode and the whole thing, my food safety. And so now I can sell to school districts, to any chef, to any grocery store, or anybody that knows and wants that aligns with what we're doing. Because hopefully we'll talk a little bit, but I wanna make sure that my crew doesn't feel the way I felt when I was a farm worker, that I was just getting squeezed out of my chorizo and they were paying me very little. I want to pay my crew top dollars, the most I can, so they can have a good life. So I have to sell my things for a really good price.
So I have a few questions. We've been hearing that when you grow organic, it takes 50%, at least 50% more to grow organic than to grow conventional. So I wanted to hear if that's your opinion. Second, do you work with farm labor contractors, or do you hire?
Can I say that? Can you go back? I'll go to your question. Can you go back one?
Sure.
That kid, Lucas, he lives in Connecticut now, but I met his mom and I met his dad. They got married. This is the span of 3 years. Lucas was born. Lucas was a year old, maybe a little less. His very first strawberry in his life was that one. That's a beautiful.
Strawberries are really delicious.
They're not so good right now, but they get to be really good.
They're really good.
But they taste like strawberry, so that's what I want. Let's go back here.
All
Sorry.
right, our question was, does it really cost 50% more to grow organic versus grow conventional? And second, do you work with farm labor contractors? Or do you hire your farm workers directly? And,
Okay. 50% maybe, what is it that they're talking about? Is it labor or is it weeding? Is it,
it's the actual.
the weeding probably, it's probably even more expensive than 50% than the conventional. That's the most difficult part. You go to my farm, there's areas that there's a lot of weeds. And there's other areas that look really clean. But it does not look like an organic big farm. It does not. Because the big farms that are organic, they use a lot of things that are allowable to be used in organic production, and they have a lots of equipment, and so it looks no different than a freaking conventional farm, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so if you go to a farm that it's smaller and doesn't have the resources, doesn't have all the tractors at different spaces, you'll see a lots of weeds. Now the labor, I don't use a labor contractor.
Yeah.
I want to know my crew. I want to know that it's Maria, Josh, Francois, Hannah, Jose, you know, La Güera, Mari, everybody, Rick. I want to know about their lives to a certain extent. I don't get involved. I don't want to know what they do and all those things, but I want to have a good concept of what their lives like, how many kids, where they live, and that sort of thing, and what their life is like. So I am really blessed because there are certain programs, the H2A programs, that are really beneficial to the large growers, but to someone like me, it's great. If you go to my farm, I can bring you to the house where I house them. Freaking house is better than my house because it's just a normal house. It's for 10 people, 5 bedrooms, beautiful kitchen, has a jacuzzi, and all that. So I want them to be really comfortable. I have a big TV for them. I have the best Wi-Fi I can find because that's the only way they connect to their families. And they get paid really well. Last year I had 18 of them. This year, because I got flattered, I only have 6 of them. But I feel honored that if I go to some little towns in Mexico, in Querétaro, or Guanajuato, or Oaxaca, that they're just gonna throw a freaking party when I go. Because there's this little town that my farm generated last week $350,000 to went to that town. That's a lot of money. Those kids were here for 7 months and they almost brought in almost $40,000 each. That's a difference. But my strawberries get sold for, I don't sell them for $16, $14 a case. I sell them for $24, $26, $28, $30 a case. That's the only way for me to do this. There's no other way. Did I answer your question?
Javier, I want to say thank you publicly to you because you supported my husband in your incubator when he was beginning farming. And so I just wanted to make sure that you know how grateful our family is.
I love you. I love seeing your kids run that down. You didn't stop.
See a question?
I believe the agriculture is one of the places where the artificial intelligence and you will make innovation in. Have you considered the aquaculture controlled by artificial intelligence with the LED lights and going forward? And we don't need, sunlight, everything is artificial and perfectly controlled by intelligence, reducing the cost. And automatically becomes organic. So I believe that there is a future, but is it happening right now? So have you considered adopting this technology?
I would love it. I would do it with you if we went to Oakland or a place where it's needed. I wouldn't support it here because we have beautiful land, beautiful sun, and water. Shit, a lot of water that we pay a lot of money for. But there's ways of growing things here. And there's ways of growing food in Canada or somewhere else with different technology. The only problem that I might have is that you're gonna call it organic. It should be grown hydroponically or whatever it is. Don't piggyback right on the sweat or what started back then. It's organic. It's organic. It's with soil. It's with all those billions of microbes and all these nutrients that you're not gonna be able to put into your aquaponic or hydroponics. You will probably be able to put the 18 that are needed. But how about the other ones that are there that you're not going to be able to provide in a way that you will make the plant grow, you will make a beautiful plant, you will create lots of fruits and vegetables, but you are not going to get the flavor that you get with Mother Nature. And you can say whatever you want. You are not going to get it.
Are you sure about that?
100%.
Question.
I also want to tell you thank you because when I tried your strawberry, it was just remind me childhood. And because when we grow vegetables, fruits in our own orchard, in our own garden, it has different taste. It has different aroma of that soil, our motherland, our family. And when I thought about the importance how we can promote organic organic our vegetables, our fruits, being our food. I think that education is very important, and I think about first a step of a scientific method is observation. And today we participate in this activity. We make observation test the strawberry fruit. When I try first, I say, oh, it's so tasty. It is just from the garden. It is so very different from the store. No aroma there. It is beautiful, it is clean, no dust there, but it is nothing that can compare with that. And so I think that maybe have more like for teachers, make more feel free to there to provide even during your sailing, provide this some time you can compare. And I want to ask, where do you sell this your product? Do you sell organic in Salinas?
No, and that's another big issue that we have, the access to food. I mean, the Salinas Valley grows so much food organically, and all this area, Pajaro Valley and all that, and unfortunately, you have your freaking little princesses and all that kind of, excuse my thing, that's so offensive, people that freaking bring things from Mexico all the time, and it just when we can actually sell it here from locally grown, but we need to get those partnerships where it makes sense for us to sell it at a decent price. How can I compete with, tomatoes that are sold at 75 cents per pound that are brought from Mexico in massive amounts? But my tomatoes that I grow here, I need to get $1.50 to $2 a pound so I can do what I'm doing. So there's just a lot of discrepancy there. And there's a lot of things that we have to fix. But it takes a few players and a few people to actually make it happen. I'll guarantee you, if you were able to educate a lot of people that go to the grocery stores and they demand organic food, things would change. But sometimes we're so selfish and we just don't care about other things that are not you guys, but other people that, whatever happens to the neighbor, you don't really care. And as long as you take care of yourself or your family, you're personally satisfied. It's just, there's a lot of work that needs to be done as community members. And really, your dollar is the one that actually drives the whole enchilada. And so that and educating people. I think there's a little store in Salinas that is sourcing from the Alba farmers and bringing organic food. I forgot, I gotta, you have to send me an email, I'll tell you, yeah. But, God, I mean, why don't we have a food co-op in the area? Why don't we don't even have a freaking Trader Joe's in Watsonville, Salinas, and why?
Watsonville has staff of life, which is hands down way better than straight food.
I love it. And you know what? So Stuff Alive in Santa Cruz, they wanted to source from me because they were gonna open a new store in Watsonville. And they said, Javier, we want your golden raspberries and your orange raspberries and your French strawberries and all these things. And I said, no, there's already a grower selling locally to you. It's Berta Magaña that came out of the Alba program. She's my neighbor. I'm like, I'm not gonna take her business away, but she doesn't have the logistics and I'm a little bigger. What I will do next year, I'm gonna have Berta Magaña, I'm gonna source the plants for her, and I'm gonna have her plant what you want. That way you're not bothering me, because I'm not gonna take your business away. So now Berta Magaña sells, golden raspberries and all these things to Stuff Alive.
Sure does, and in cardboard boxes too.
There you go. See,
Yeah,
it takes relationships and stop the selfishness and that kind of shit. It's just,
You had a question?
sorry.
I was just asking, you said there's a lot of people who are particular with what their produce looks like. Do you have a system for produce when you pick it that might not be desirable for all markets? Do you have a system to how to sell those?
Everything that we grow is desirable and can be eaten. I'm really lucky and blessed that everything that we grow, 98% of things get sold. And the ones that maybe come back from the farmer's market or something, my crew, they take them, we donate them. Strawberries, we have certain partnerships with, Happy Girl, that they take the strawberries to make jam. And so we waste very little. And when I feel like, oh shit, this is not selling, or I need the land, that's when I call my, people in the area. If I have it and if you need it, I will provide it to you because I know it will come back to me. So having, these people, I'm gonna get rid of my tomatoes. Why would I till them in the land when they're so good and they're tasty? Have them come in, have 40 people come in and pick them.
And,
So that actually brings back to the question, I can afford to buy organic, but the farm workers here who are food insecure can't afford to buy organic. And I'm just wondering if there's a way we can have a program that they could buy organic. I know there was a whole series of farmers markets that were established, like on Natividad's campus and other places.
It disappeared, went away, right?
I think they went away. They were going to be multiple days a week, and they were going to be after work. And
Well, that's because the funding ran out, or whoever it was doing it got tired of it, or it wasn't. But
and
so
COVID also.
so we gotta keep that up, and if something goes away, let's get started again, or let's create something new.
But even then, could you afford to do that to the price that the farm workers could eat? Your organic, wonderful food, because I love these strawberries. I've eaten way more than I should have. That I'm just trying to think of a system where not just the people that can afford organic, but the people who can't right now.
There's no silver bullet for anything.
No.
You and I know.
I know.
But what I tell you is that if he wants to start freaking roadside somewhere, I will support him. And then somebody else will come along. As long as, the other person might make a little money. Sometimes I can afford to take a loss because I know at the end I'm gonna gain something. But it just takes somebody to have an idea and do it, not just talk about it. And when you do it, somebody else will probably fund or give you the financials that you need to keep it going. Yeah, just do it.
We have the Fresh Act program, your clinic, and we
Prescriptions.
give vouchers to people, and they go, there's a little market across the street from us, we have all the people selling the vegetables, they can go there and get, their vegetables.
Well, I would go.
Organic and for the people.
This was exactly what I was going.
There's a huge waiting list too. We have like 500 people asking for 100 vouchers. So
Well, there we go. Why doesn't somebody write a grant, say there's a big need for this? CDFA freaking give me some money, federal government, give me some money to do this shit because it works. It just takes a brain that actually can do that. I don't have the qualifications to do it. Neither do I have the time, but if you want to do it, I'll fully support you.
What we wanted to do, this is with Preston Mary, who was the head of, at Kaiser, when Kaiser Permanente decided to give organic foods in the hospital. We were going to give food coupons to people on Medi-Cal, just like you said, but the food coupons could be used, with coupons could be used in organic farm, organic sellers. And so the family, what's the name of the organization, the Family Farms?
A calf.
CAF was going to partner with us on this, and that's exactly what we should be doing.
We, you know, our patients are going to this WIC.
That's great.
And they're getting the vegetables and fruits from people that graduate from our program. And, we also. Has a little stand there, and they're promoting, nature experiences, so the moms take their kids there and they sign them up to take them down to Pittsburgh or out to, you know, the beach or someplace else and experience nature a little bit, which is, I think, the missing part of the organic idea is like, you know, that we love nature and then organic is sort of a natural consequence of that.
So I guess it's La Michoacana, the store that is doing that in Salinas. So we should have more Michoacanas do that. I mean, we have how many princesses in Watsonville? Why don't we not force it, but suggest and have you come in every week? I need organic, whatever. I need organic strawberries. And I'm getting, shit. They're gonna have to do it. That's what it takes. Just to keep.
So I think we have time for about one more question. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Kim, you had your hand up, and I see some hands up here.
Well, I was just curious, what they tell us is that that organic can't feed the world. That you always need conventional, but you can't feed everybody with organic. And I'm just wondering what your impression is of that, and if it's not, like how much organic can you support, or what's your thought on the truth of that?
I think they're 100% right. But we can, move the needle for more organic food being grown near where, the communities are eating and they need it. Of course, it's because there's so many problems, logistics and yields, that organic yields are not the same as conventional yields because you don't have the pesticides, you don't have the fertilizers that will pump things and create, 7,000 boxes of strawberries per acre versus my organic is like 3,400, half. So those things, and there's just so much food needed in the world because there's so many humans. So I do agree with that. And that's why, and the reasons why I say, I'm not against the big growers or anything like that. We just need more small farms near where the food gets eaten. And that's what it is. But so don't, I'm never saying, big boys, oh, wow, this and that. We need them.
So
we all need to be fed.
why don't we take one more question, and then you can probably hang out a little.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so one more
I have a
question.
birthday party to go. It's it's actually happening at home. It's my first granddaughter. Little Luna is 1 year old.
Oh.
Muchas gracias.
And my question was just about how important and what ways can we reduce food waste so that we might be able to feed more people with our organic food.
I think, I kind of have to think about that, but food waste is reduced by having the food closer to where it needs to be eaten. Right? I just, I love to go to schools and teach kids how to grow tomatoes or how to plant strawberries and all those things, Even people in the city can buy this little freaking, piece of pot with soil and grow something. Grow a couple of zucchini plants, you'll be able to eat the entire summer with it, right? A couple of tomato plants. If you feed them right, you have a lot of tomatoes, not only for you, but for your neighbors. So yeah, growing the food closer to where it needs to be eaten. ¿Qué les parece? ¿Todo bien? I should have spoken en español, porque español es mi lengua nativa. Así es que cuando, for those that speak Spanish, I truly enjoy having Latino communities come to my farm and do a tour in Spanish. And I'm really blessed that I'm able to somehow communicate with you in English. Might not be perfect, but I think I can get around.
Thank you.
Thank you for the further.
Oh, de nada. It makes things a lot easier when you guys are eating good stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. I had people come out and yeah. So reach out to me again, Instagram, or send me an email if you guys want to come out to the farm. JSM Organics.
It was the first slide, right? Email on the first slide.
We'll send out.
You see those jicamas? Oh God, jicamas. I grown things. Yeah. Oh, JSM Organics at gmail.com. Just Google me. You'll find me. Muchísimas gracias y disfruten las fiestas. Hopefully we'll see you guys again.
Gracias.
That's it.
So we started at this first farm that has the plants, he's in a non-scented area. He grew tried to do like broccoli, cauliflower, he did like 2 rows of it. And then Javier had to move to his little hills farm. And there he did, that's where he did much deeper into celery. And that's what became his product until the pandemic broke out. And he actually went into the running too much because he was trying to do a very expensive startup that was ready to be harvested right when the pandemic broke out. But that's why when he knows Javier knows me, I'll be like, whenever I need lots of structure.
I stopped sharing. I didn't know if we wanted to like do anything else with it. So I didn't stop the recording yet.
Okay, we're just gonna stop the recording. Okay.